in.
Mark Yaconelli is an author, speaker, and founder of The Hearth, a nonprofit that builds community through personal storytelling. He's married to Jill and is the proud parent of 3 children, Noah, Joseph, and Grace. Let's welcome Mark Yaconelli.
Graduates, faculty, parents, relatives, the weird guy who dresses up as a hobbit and hangs out by those bushes over there. Good evening and congratulations to the class of 2014. That's right. For the next 90 minutes, I'm going to lay out a plan that's going to help you. No, just hang on here. Let's cut a couple things. It's an honor to be here to stand on this hallowed ground where in 1868, the founder of Ashland, Tadley Fontenelle, started the first gluten-free trading post right here. And with non-GMO hardtack and free trade lard, this town was founded, and we're still here. And we're still GMO-free. And we still love free trade lard. Okay, that was too far. That was one out too far. So many of you, you're getting ready for your independence. You're about to be sent out on your own to live life without your parents. We're not going to pay for anything anymore. You're all on your own now. But you may be wondering, what was the plan? What were you guys thinking when you forced me to go to school at 5 years old, all the way up until I'm 18, mapping out my life? What were you thinking? Well, now that you're graduates, I can tell you the secret plan we parents had. This is it. We wanted you to go to school and work hard, get good grades, so that you could get into a good college. The reason we wanted you to get into a good college is so that you can get a good job. The reason we wanted you to get a good job is so that you could get a good retirement. The reason we wanted you to get a good retirement is so that when you're 65, you could move to Ashland and live your life. There was only one flaw with that plan. You've already lived in Ashland. You don't need to wait until you're 65 to fall asleep at a Shakespeare play. You've already done that many times. And so what's the real hope, the real plan that we parents want for you? And this is the truth. We want you to live. We want you to live. The way we've seen you as children, the first time we took you to the ocean, and you went running at those waves and got knocked over, and then came back up and ran along that water once again. We want you to live the way you did when you went in the backyard and found pine cones and mud and deer poop, and you made a little store, and you came running in the house saying, "Popcorn, popcorn for sale, who wants to buy popcorn?" And then you ate some of it and had dysentery for 2 nights. We want you to live that time we took you to the park and you didn't know anybody there, and you started playing tag with a bunch of kids, and you ran up to us and said, "I have a new best friend." And we said, "What's his name?" And you said, "I don't know." Remember that? Open, transparent, alive, where life was unforced, where there was no holding back. It's possible to live like that into adulthood. And I know it doesn't seem like that. I know you see many of us adults who seem so burdened by life, so stressed, that we've become indifferent, uncaring, closed down, numb. And this is the struggle to stay alive, to keep your passions available to you, to keep your gifts accessible to you, to stay alive. There's a reason we watch zombie movies once in a while, because it's possible to be dead and not know it. Sometimes it happens to a whole town, and they can take a perfectly beautiful plaza and make it look like some kind of 1980s government housing project. It happens. And so the work is to keep from going numb. The work is to stay alive. And it's an art to do that. You know, in our culture, we're told to look for happiness. And the happiness is based on the 3 A's. Appearance, what you look like. Achievement, what you do. And affluence, the money you have. But I'm telling you the truth, beauty fades. Jobs come and go. Money you have and then you don't have it. You're not looking for happiness. What you're looking for is joy. What you're looking for is joy. We've seen that in you as your parents. Joy, that's what we want for you. And where does joy come from? It comes from living a life of love. Love for this earth. Love for those who are near you and around you. Love for your own precious life. Life is an art, not a science. And you have to find the unique way that you shake out the life in you. That you find your own gifts coming awake in you. That joy begins to spring out. You got to find your own way. Life is an art. You got to ask yourself, what do I need in order to become a more loving person? Because at the end of your life, people will gather around and they will measure your life based on love. Based on love. Not by your job, your appearance, what you own, but by love. And you've seen some of these people here who have found that secret and have found a way to allow that life to shine through them. That's why Betsy Bishop works extra weekends and nights at the theater. It's because of her love of the arts and for staying alive. That's why the math department, Miss Sabatka and Mr. Wolf, that's why they give extra time to tutor and help students. They love learning. They love math. That's why Carl Kemper wears his shorts just over the belly button. I don't know why he does that, actually. It's kind of disturbing in a ball game when he... It's his way of staying alive. I don't know why he has to wear them in public. So here's a little diagnostic. Angeles Arian, anthropologist, said that she noticed in indigenous cultures, when someone felt disheartened, numb, deadened, disconnected, there were usually 4 questions a healer would ask to try to identify the source of the ailment. These questions were, when was the last time you sang? When was the last time you danced? When was the last time you sat with friends and told stories? When was the last time you listened to silence? When you find yourself lost and disconnected, ask yourself those questions and try to locate what you need in order to allow love and life to move through you. Let me close with this story. I was at the Portland airport, and right outside the main security gate there, where most people are coming through, there's a big atrium. It's 2 stories high. It's all glass. It looks out over the tarmac. And there's a grand piano there and a couple of coffee shops. And I was sitting there early in the morning. This was about 7 years ago. It's just after Christmas. And everybody's hypnotized the way this culture gets in busyness, travel, work, phones, all that stuff is just a hustle. And in the midst of all this post-holiday stress, there is a couple that comes out of security and they're having this argument. They're overwhelmed and they don't care who can hear it. And they're yelling at each other. And they can't find their tickets after they went through. And do you have them? No, I didn't put them. I told you you had them. No, I don't have them. Look in your jacket. And they have a little girl who's with them, 3 years old. And they set her down just in front of me where I'm having my coffee. And this little girl has on these squeaky shoes. These shoes that sometimes in a fit of insanity we buy little kids. And she starts marching around with her feet. And one of the shoes still worked. It made the little squeaky toy sound. The other one looked like, it kind of sounded like you stepped on grandma. No. Anyways. And so she started walking in a circle, making the squeak sound and this other kind of pitiful sound. And all of a sudden, the father just yells out, "If you don't take those damn shoes off, I'm going to go crazy." And the thing is so loud and so abrupt that people on their computers and people saying kind of look up, and we're all looking at each other like someone should do something. This is kind of inappropriate. And the mother picks up the daughter and takes the shoes off and sets her daughter back down, and her daughter just stands there kind of a little ashamed looking down. And about this time, coming through the security, there's this yell from a young man. A young man is yelling in terror. He's afraid. And I look over at the security place, and it's a guy, he's about 23, 24. He's developmentally disabled. He's got some kind of developmental challenge, and he's been pulled out, and the security TSA guys are searching him. And he's terrified, and he's screaming, and that scream is echoing throughout this atrium and making everybody tense and looking around, and his caregiver is banging on the plexiglass saying, "You're scaring him. Let me come through. You're scaring him." And they don't know what to do. They're calling each other on walkie-talkies, and it's just adding to the stress of post-holiday travel. Well, in the midst of all of this stress, a young man in a hoodie is sitting at a coffee table, and he gets up and he goes to the grand piano. And the grand piano is covered, and it has a sign that says, "Do not remove piano cover. Do not play piano. Portland Airport Authority." And the young man takes off the sign and sets it on the ground, and he pulls off the cover, and he props open the grand piano, and he sits down, and he closes his eyes, and he begins to play. And it's so gentle at first that I could swear it's coming from a sound system, but he just begins to weave this music, this sonata. And the waitress who was working my table comes over and she says, "This is Mozart. He's playing Mozart." And the more he plays, more people are looking up from their laptops and listening. And all of a sudden, as we're sitting there, a young man across in the other little kiosk restaurant area stands up. He's got a beard and kind of long hair, and he looks in his backpack, and he pulls out a violin. And he walks over and stands by the piano and just waits. And then all of a sudden, he comes in. And the young man at the piano just smiles as if, yes, this is what happens. And he's playing, and the violin, and they're taking turns back and forth. And the young girl suddenly looks up and goes out and begins to do that primal dance that all young girls know at 3 years old. She's twirling and leaping and moving to the music. And now there's 30, maybe 40 people. We're in a circle. We're listening. We're watching the girl dance. The man who was screaming at security has come up, and he's looking and watching, and he's swaying back and forth and smiling. And his caregiver, maybe his mother, wraps her arms around him. And then I notice on the edge of the circle, there's 8 soldiers, 6 men and 2 women. And they're not talking. They're somber. Their spouses are with them. Their children are with them. And you can tell they're shipping out. They're leaving. And no one's speaking. And there's one young man there who's with his boy, who's maybe 4 years old, and they're dressed in matching army fatigues, matching haircuts. And the little boy who's holding his mother's hand lets go, comes out into the circle, and begins to dance with that girl. And they're dancing, and he's kind of marching, and then he does this little eagle thing. And all of a sudden, the mother of this young boy sees him in the circle dancing. And her face turns red. And she runs into that circle and picks up her son and quickly moves back to this little cluster of soldiers. The husband looks at his wife with love, and then he opens his arms and he takes his boy and he walks back to the circle and he sets his son down into that circle on his feet, and he pulls up a chair and sits down at the edge, and he says to his boy, "Dance. Dance." And with tears gently coming down his face, he smiles. And every once in a while, his son looks at him and he says to him, "Dance. Dance." The truth is, the world can be a mean and cruel place. Sing anyways. The world can be filled with loss and grief and hardship. Dance anyways. You can feel so alone in neighborhoods and in workplaces that you have to wonder if you're even a part of the human race. Gather people together and tell stories. And if the suffering gets too much, I hope you find a quiet place where you can sit and listen and remember these mountains and remember these trees and the sound of this creek and know the one message that we have been trying to tell you your whole life. We love you.